a $600 billion deal happened between the United States and Saudi Arabia. And I'm going to walk through how you can actually take part of all the craziness that's happening and how to take part of the money that's flowing through this deal. So 142 billion of the $600 million that Saudi Arabia, quote unquote, invested in the US comes in the form of military equipment and military related services that were purchased. Really, the whole crux of the situation boils down to this. Saudi Arabia is buying a lot of American military equipment, services, and software. And they have probably exclusive licenses and exclusive deals to take part in purchasing those types of products and services. So essentially, the quickest way to take advantage of this is to look at businesses that are in the defense industries, and to, when the information starts coming out on this, so look at the businesses that are related to these companies, in that sector. So like, let's look at the companies that are the exclusive providers of military equipment, and the traditional companies are providers of military equipment to Saudi Arabia. And really, if you own a share in those companies, if you transact in those companies, if you want to create another company that could be bought by one of those companies, if you just look at the companies that have that exclusive arrangement with Saudi Arabia, then you could probably get a piece of some of the action as the news comes out. Because the idea is, rather than Saudi Arabia saying, hey, I want to work with, Chinese equipment or equipment from somewhere else, they chose the United States. So there's several public companies that already exist, like a Palantir, for example, and that defense contractor builds software and systems for the military. And so it's likely that those types of companies will have those types of contracts. So if you're an investor, or if you're anybody that wants to take part of the action, if you invest in own stocks in those types of companies, that could be interesting. This is not financial advice, but this is just something to think about. And if you're somebody who wants to grow your business, probably one of the most efficient ways to grow your business is if you want to buy a similar business, if you want to buy a business in the cybersecurity or defense tech niches. We had my company, I have a company called Raise.com where we're involved in $300 million plus worth of transactions. And we had an individual in DC that was involved in the cybersecurity industries. And this individual worked so hard, and he actually acquired an AI startup, and he works with a few defense contractors, and he's a cybersecurity guy. So the cybersecurity businesses are really, like, that's something that he successfully worked in, and he acquired one. So if you look at businesses that have a cybersecurity spin on it, probably because of this news, some capital can flow into it, and probably the excitement around companies wanting to have contracts with the US, contracts with foreign governments and the US. You can probably see a big opportunity there if you're looking to buy businesses or grow a business by raising money to buy businesses. And you actually don't need money yourself to buy. You need some money, but not the entire value of the business to buy it. Only having a portion of that capital up front can help you, because you can get loans, you can raise capital, find investors to join with you, so you can own defense contracts and businesses. The only issue with defense contracts and business, the biggest issue, is probably having too few customers. So one issue with defense businesses and government contracts and businesses is that you'll have 90% of the revenue come from one contract. And that's risky from a risk perspective. It'd be better if, like, the revenue is diversified. If your revenue comes from, let's say, 100 different clients and it's all evenly distributed, that's more what we call fault tolerance. In other words, it's safer, because an investor is more likely to buy something that has long contracts and diversified sources of revenue and stable revenues. But if there's only one contract and the contract is short, that's an ultra high risk business. So just be careful in growing these businesses, owning these businesses, because you want to make sure that you're not too involved with the short contracts or one massive contract that takes over everything. So ultimately, there was talk about Amazon and different things getting involved, and there was even a talk about Saudi Arabia wanting to work with Elon Musk's Starlink and things of that nature. But ultimately, it's a general gist for Saudi Arabia having exclusive arrangements for mainly military related software, hardware, and beyond and services. So if you're in that niche, this may be a good time to get into it. And the last thing to add is Trump always pushed the idea of austerity. In other words, lowering the cost that they're paying for things because of military overspending. And the more that America spends on things they don't need, the more money that they can lose. Because if they lose money, like the more they owe money, because they owe money. The United States owes money and they have a terrible balance sheet. And people will gradually lose trust in the US dollar because the more they owe, the more money they'll have to print. The more money they have to print, the less people trust the US dollar. And then that's usually how a lot of empires over time go literally bankrupt. But I guess the solution, was to lower military spending, lower social security, like just lower the amount of money you spend on things. And one of the things, and the reason why Dodge appeared was to reduce government spending on all these things. But unfortunately, we had Trump doesn't really want to lower defense spending as much. In fact, he was even excited and bragging that defense spending is going out. A lot of Republicans like government spending, and Trump likes military spending. So that's one thing that wouldn't go down. In any event, expect military spending to go up like crazy. So anything related to military technology, military services will go up like crazy in value. And if you want to take part of this and you want to not sit in the sidelines, and wait longer while other people are getting involved in this business and taking some of the passive revenues from owning and running these types of businesses, we actually have a process to help people acquire these businesses. So if you go to race.com, click free consultation, we'll be able to book a call with you to see if this is something that we can help you do. Even if it's your day job of being somebody in a defense contracting space, in the military software space, it could be something really interesting if you'd like to do it. And with this, take care of yourself, stay safe out there, and don't go too crazy with the military businesses. We'll see you in the next video.